All right, it's like January the 11th. This is the 22nd video on this 40-foot landing craft. Wanted to talk a minute about a wood stove. I built a wood stove for it here, and just, I've been trying to finish up the cabin, but I stopped and made this wood stove because it's getting kind of cold around here, and it's just nice to kind of fire it up. I studied on YouTube and watched a lot of videos of even companies that make these wood stoves now, and they're really efficient because they have primary and secondary air. And that's the primary air there. It opens and closes, so you could cut it off, and then there will be a third air system that goes around the glass. And I got the glass, I got it kind of drawn on there. That's what the glass will look like. These wood stoves are so efficient because of these air systems that they have on there, and that primary air and then the secondary air, and then air that blows down across the glass keeps the glass clean. So I learned a lot about wood stoves, and these companies are out there and they're so proud of their shit. They don't mind. They tell you and show you factory footage of how they do it, how they get their secondary air to work. So I just basically copied them, and I'm hoping it'll work out real good. But I plan on doing a lot of cooking on this stove in this boat, obviously, because I'm going to live in this boat. So wood heat will be my primary heat. But anyway, the secondary air is kind of cool. You can see there's holes right here, all around here, and there's holes on the underside pointing straight down coming off these tubes, and that picks up air off the back. Those two right here and there, they go straight down to the ground, and this is a plate that slides right there. It's completely closed, and when I slide that back, that's completely open. And I got a couple lines right here where I can, like, that's halfway right there, and I get this line just right. I can just see the line, and that's completely open right there. So anyway, it draws air up the back side of the stove, comes across the top, and as it does, it preheats. Now, this is not something you have open in the beginning. You go ahead and build your fire with your primary air down there, and then when the fire gets going good, you open up that secondary air and close this primary, and it will draw cold air off the floor. It'll bring it up these tubes, and then it'll come out these tubes, these holes. I drilled 3/16 holes. They didn't really say what size holes they drilled, but I think they're pretty small. But so anyway, they're all across there, and then across here, and then they're on the underside also, blowing straight down, and that burns up that those gases. The secondary air burns up those gases and turns them down and curls them around. It's pretty cool to watch the videos. Check it out if you've never seen it. There's lots of videos on YouTube about wood stoves and stuff, and I may put some fire bricks in it. So I put this flat bar in there. The thing about fire bricks, is like if you put fire bricks in an oven or in a wood stove, this is 3/16 metal, by the way. And if you put fire bricks in there, well, then it takes a little bit longer for your wood stove to heat up, but then they supposedly retain some heat afterward. But whether or not I like the fire bricks or not, these pieces of flat bar there's 2 rows of them, will completely keep this wood stove from ever warping out on me. So I haven't really decided. I don't have any fire bricks right now, but I just went ahead and did that anyway. Got a heat shield on the back that's spaced 2 inches. This stuff here that's 2x2 square tubing, and it's pretty thick, but it was just stuff that I had laying around, so I used it. And then I got the lid over here, and since I am going to cook on this thing, I did this, so this can come off, and then you have access to all that hot air in there and that heat when you put a skillet over it or whatever. I got the ring in the back. I still got to weld that on. But basically I did everything, and then the lid will go on last because I need to gain access in there for this door. Like I said, there'll be one more air system. So there's 3 air systems on this thing. The primary there, the secondary, and then the door will have small square tubing, like 1/2 by 1/2 square tubing going all the way around it. And 2 3/8 holes right there at the bottom of the door, right by the glass, where it will draw air up, and that air will blow across the glass and keep it clean. So there you have it. You know, it's probably the best wood stove I've ever made. It's I really like how I did the feet on this one. I just let the metal go long. And this wood stove is 24 across the front by 20 deep, and it's about 32 tall. And you know, I'm kind of on a budget right now, and this is one sheet of 3/16 metal. It's the same size as a sheet of plywood. It's 4 by 8, and I managed to get all these pieces out of that one sheet and have literally just a couple small, very small pieces left. So it worked out good. And like I said, I got the piece of glass right there that is that shape. It's got this arch top on it, which is really cool. And glass in a wood stove is just awesome to be able to see the fire. So gonna paint this thing black. I got some paint that's like you spray on your car engine. You know, it's supposed to be good for like 2,000 degrees, so we'll see. That glass is ceramic glass, and it's good for like 1,300 degrees or something like that. So it's good glass. Basically, when you're burning your wood stove, you never want to, you know, the zone is like, I think it's 400, 500, 600 degrees, something like that. So that's, you know, that's the zone that you want to keep, and as far as the heat, that way, obviously, you don't overheat your wood stove. And I got the flat bar in there anyway. It's not like it's going to warp it, but all the videos, you know, they're like, people have thermostats on them, and so it's like the perfect range is somewhere around 500 or so. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting this thing going. And obviously, you're thinking, you know, this is going to go in that cabin. That cabin's, you know, 11 feet wide by 20 feet long. And obviously the wood stove is way too big for the cabin, but you don't have to put, you know, you don't have to fill that thing up. So you can control your heat by how much wood you put in there, and you can control your heat by that secondary air also. And one thing about the secondary air is the smoke that goes out the top of these things on these efficient wood stoves is you don't see any smoke, because it recirculates via that secondary air and turns that stuff around, all those exhausts, and re-burns that stuff. So it's very efficient. So anyway, we'll see. Looking forward to it. So let's push on here. So you know, Christmas came and went, and I took about a half a day off on Christmas. I mean, I've been working on this thing since I quit my job in October, 7 days a week, you know, 8 hours a day. And if you've been watching the videos, you know I'm trying to get out of here in April. So I put I have some round pipe, and I trimmed this visor and all the way down the side of the boat with this round pipe. Let me just walk over here real quick, because I just love how this stuff looks. This round pipe, it's not the only thing that you can trim an edge with, but it is really awesome looking. And these two corners, one on this side and one on the other side, I have a tubing bender that I've never put together. It's a JD Square. It's a very nice tubing bender, and I have one die that fits that diameter of aluminum pipe. And so I will bend up a couple pieces for these corners later. And but yeah, just really looks cool with this round pipe on here. I don't know how that's coming out, but it just looks really hot, and across the visor there. And so I've got about 30 or 40 feet left to weld, a little bit in the back and a little bit inside the cabin up there. And I've ground these corners down because, you know, I always talk about that, how I suck at welding those outside corners, and this here where two sheets just butt up to each other. It's just, let me back out of here. For me, you know, I mean, those two outside corners and where two sheets butt up like that, a butt joint, that's by far the most difficult weld for me to do. And you know, when I bought this welder this time, I almost bought the 350P. It's a Miller, it's a pulse welder, and it pulsates the arc thousands of times a minute and gives you a lot more control, kind of like TIG welding, and the weld looks like TIG welding also. And I just kicked myself because I read a couple bad reviews on it, several bad reviews on it. It was in some professional boat building shops and they kept having trouble with them. And, you know, I knew that I wouldn't be able to have time or afford to have my welder break down on me. So I went with the 250 welder that's in the boat there. And it's a shop welder, 250, and went with the AlumaPro push-pull gun. But that's why, you know, these outside corners and the butt joints, I just cannot get them. I mean, I can lay down the beads, but it's where your spot welds come together, where you tie everything in, that just ends up being a little bit bulky and just doesn't look good. And I think honestly, when you tie your welds in, I don't talk much about welding, but if you'll grind down the spot welds, because you tack weld it about every 6 inches and then you come back and weld it fully, well, that's where you get bulky, is where you come up to each one of those tack welds. And so I found out if you take the time, which I don't a lot of the times, and grind down, you know, these tack welds before you come back and weld that fully, well, it'll be a lot more low profile when your welds start connecting and making one full weld. But like I say, I don't most of the time take the time to do that, but I think that is a good idea, and that might really help the tie-ins look better. So anyway, lots of videos out there on welding aluminum, but not too many of them about, you know, guys that specifically build boats. This I'm probably one of the few. I mean, I've looked on YouTube, but nobody has a website like this or videos like I do. And I can't teach you how to weld aluminum because I don't have the equipment to show that stuff, to video it. But honestly, just buy a welder, man, and go for it, because that's how I did it. And there's lots of videos out there to learn Jody's welding tips and tricks, and just trial and error, you know. And if you really want to do something, well, you'll buy a welder and start doing it, because I've said in videos a long time ago that I could never afford a boat like this if you know, I had someone if I paid someone to build it for me, because these things are incredibly expensive. Just the hull and the cabin with no electronics or nothing like this, you know, it's probably $300,000. I know that full-blown 40-footers like this that have all the electronics and everything on them that are finished really nice, they're $600,000. And that's just, you know, I could never have that. I have in these videos before, I've said it before, I'll say it one more time, I've got 27 sheets of metal and stiffeners, different various stiffeners, and so I have a investment in aluminum here of, you know, just under 30 grand, like $28,000 in aluminum. And you know, for just your working guy, it's all I can do to build this thing. It's about as big as I could ever, you know, build, and have money for fuel and stuff like that. So anyway, my dad kept telling me, and Dad's probably gonna watch this video, he kept telling me, yeah, build a 70-footer. I'm like, there ain't no fucking way I can build a 70-footer, because I could never afford to move the thing or put engines on it or anything. But this 40-footer is pretty spacious, and it's gonna be really nice as far as living in it. That cabin, like I said, is 11 feet by 20 feet. So let's go in here and talk about this for a minute, because I have a couple things I wanted to talk about. We're already at 14 minutes. I have literally about 20 feet on the inside right here. Let me go this way. Right up in here, that's where the top meets it. So I have 10 feet on this side, 10 feet on the other side. That's 20 feet. And the rest of it from there back is welded. And on the outside, I have another 10 feet. So I have 30 feet of weld left on this cabin. And you know, everything is stitch welded in here except, you know, the main seams where it would leak or something. So 30 feet left on this cabin, and I've got 5 or 6 more pieces for these dashes. I got some metal I'm going to put here where the steering wheel mounts. It'll go straight down. So a couple pieces on the dash here and on that side, and 30 feet of welding. And they fucked up on my first order of glass, and so it should be here tomorrow. The second order, they didn't radius cut the windows. But let me say something about the top here. You know, this is metal that I had planned on using somewhere else, and this is an 1/8 inch roof. Well, it's 11 by 20, and I don't know if you can see that, but maybe you can hear that. That ain't gonna show up very good, but it's spongy. You know, I have the radius arc. You know, I got all these things stitch welded in here, and obviously this 1x2 stuff right here, you know, that's the weakest way you could do it. If you stood it on edge, it'd be a lot stronger, but I didn't want to stand it on edge because then I lose height in here. And so I will come back and put, you know, 1 inch, you know, some kind of hardboard insulation for insulation in here. Anyway, bottom line, the roof is 1/8 inch. I'll never build a boat this big again and put 1/8 inch on the roof. I've said that before. It's 1/8 inch is just way too thin. Just spend the money, go with the thicker shit, either 3/16 or 1/4 inch. Think about it, the thicker the metal, the less the stiffeners you have to use to accomplish the same thing. So if you skimp on money and buy 1/8 inch, get ready to lay down some stiffeners. I mean, a shitload of them, because I've got, these are 2x2 squares where this roof is framed basically, and it's not enough. So I don't have any more money, I don't have any more metal, I have just enough to get this shit up to Alaska. So I'm gonna end up just standing a couple vertical 4x4s about 12 feet apart in here, and then one, you know, down the ceiling. So one 12-footer here and 2 verticals, just some 4x4 posts, just wood. And I'll take care of it in Alaska. You know, I will make some money and buy some stiffeners, and I will end up putting them on top. I won't put any more inside, but I will put them on top. And I was thinking, you know, maybe some of this rub rail material or something. But anyway, there it is. You know, not happy with this, with the roof, the flexibility that it has. There's no way that you could run this boat in the ocean the way it is right now without these verticals in here that I'm just talking about a minute ago. That roof would just, it would just, you know, up and down until it just wore itself to fuck, you know. Sorry, but it's disappointing because I wasn't going to use that metal there, and I had to use it there, and it's spongy. It's got some flexibility there, and so I'm going to throw the vertical stiffeners in it, and it'll be good until I get some more stiffeners. And like I say, maybe some of that stuff right there. It's some of that rub rail, maybe 5 or 6 pieces of that on there. And what it needs is it needs a vertical piece going across this way, like maybe 8 of them that are maybe 4 inches tall standing on edge. That is what it needs. But anyway, that is what it is. Going back to this for a second, this round stuff, this is round pipe, and obviously it doesn't have it's not cut like that where you can slip it on like I've slipped it on here. To do that, I took, you know, these are 20-foot sticks. Across the front here is a 10-foot stick. So I took it, cut one time down the center of it with my plasma cutter, which, you know, the plasma cutter doesn't have a very wide kerf when it cuts something. It's very narrow. And then went down it twice with the skill saw with a non-ferrous blade in there, and it worked out pretty good. And slip that stuff on, but I mean, I don't even know if it shows it in here in the video, just how nice that is, man. That really trims these edges really, really nice. And down the side, it's kind of dark, but won't be too long. We'll have this thing outside. We'll get some really good pictures of it where I can walk all the way around it and really take a look at it, because these videos don't do it justice. Anyway, I got some glass coming. I'll put that glass in and do another video in a few days, and we'll have some windows in the front of this thing. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it.